This is a map of the hottest places in the Americas. As you can see on the outlined borders, these include the driest 8 states in the country. Being the hottest states in America, what do you think will happen when they run out of water? How will this affect these states and the whole country of the USA? Join me in this video as we learn more about the ramifications of having no water in the Southwest. The American Southwest is a region of immense natural beauty, but it is also a region that is facing a very real threat: running out of water. A water shortage is nothing new in the American Southwest. In fact, they have been occurring with increasing frequency in recent years due to declining rainfall levels and increased demand from growing populations. However, the problem has reached a critical point where it now threatens the future of the region. If the American Southwest runs out of water, it would have devastating consequences for the environment, economy, and society. The Colorado River. The Colorado River is one of the most important water sources for the American Southwest, providing vital water to communities across a large area. Located in western Colorado, the river begins its journey high in the Rocky Mountains and flows through stretches of canyons and desert on its way down to its ultimate destination in the Gulf of California. Along the way, it supports a variety of ecosystems and provides an important source of recreation for residents and visitors alike. It is one of the most heavily dammed and utilized rivers in the world, and its water is divided among several American states as well as Mexico. Despite this heavy usage, the river still faces a number of challenges, including pollution and the effects of climate change. The American Southwest is heavily reliant on the Colorado River for its water supply, making it an essential part of life in this arid region. But what would happen if the Colorado River were to run dry? Experts predict that climate change will bring more frequent and severe droughts to the American Southwest, putting increasing strain on the already threatened Colorado River. With the reservoirs along its course at record lows, many fear that even a small reduction in water supply could lead to disastrous consequences for this highly populated area. A severe drought could lead to water shortages for millions of people, as well as devastating wildfires. There would also be major impacts on the region's agriculture and tourism industries. The Colorado River is a vital source of irrigation waters for farmers, and it also provides drinking water for 40 million people. In the event of a prolonged drought, rationing would likely be put into place in order to prevent widespread panic and unrest. This would mean that some people would have to drastically change their lifestyle, cutting back on water use in all areas of life. While some are working to find new sources of water or improve conservation measures, others worry that these efforts may not be enough to save the American Southwest from running out of water. As communities across the region continue to grow, the demand for water is only expected to increase, making it more critical than ever to find a way to sustainably manage this precious resource. Southwest Drought. The American Southwest is no stranger to drought. In fact, the region has been dealing with increasingly severe droughts for the past few years, and while some parts of the country have been hit harder than others, the effects of drought are being felt across the entire region. Farmers are struggling to keep their crops alive, and many have been forced to give up farming altogether. Ranchers are dealing with dwindling water supplies and dying livestock, and communities are facing water rationing and other restrictions as they try to cope with the limited resources available. The effects of drought go beyond just water shortages, however. The lack of water also means less power generation from hydroelectric dams, which can lead to blackouts and power outages. To add to this, the impacts of drought are being felt far beyond just the American Southwest, as communities around the world deal with increasingly scarce and unpredictable water supplies. With increasingly erratic weather patterns and longer periods of dryness, many communities in the area have struggled to keep up with growing demand for water resources. Many experts attribute these changes to rising global temperatures and changing weather patterns, which are contributing to more severe drought conditions throughout the American Southwest. These conditions have forced local communities to take drastic measures, such as restricting water usage or drilling new wells in order to meet their water needs. However, not all communities have been able to adapt to these challenges. Many small rural towns and isolated agricultural areas have seen a decline decline in economic activity due to reduced access to water. In addition, the increased risk of wildfires has also put many American Southwest residents at risk. Despite the challenges that drought presents, there are steps that can be taken to mitigate its effects. Some communities have implemented innovative water conservation strategies, while others are exploring alternative sources of water, such as desalination or rainwater harvesting. Enjoying this video so far? Well, don't forget to click that subscribe button below. Subscribe to TechnoGlobal Innovation now. Mass migration effect. If the American Southwest were to run dry, it would have a massive impact on the rest of the country. The southwestern United States is one of the most populous regions in the country. A mass migration away from the area would put immense strain on the other parts of the country. The region is already facing severe drought conditions, and a complete lack of water would be catastrophic. Crops would fail, businesses would close, and people would be forced to leave their homes in search of water. The American Southwest is home to some of the nation's largest cities, including Los Angeles and Phoenix. If the region were to run dry, these cities would be some of the first to feel the effects. Phoenix alone is home to nearly 1.5 million people, and a mass migration out of this area would have a significant impact on other parts of the country. It is home to some of the country's most iconic landmarks, and a dry landscape would be a huge blow to the region's economy. Tourist destinations like the Grand Canyon and Joshua Tree National Park would be severely impacted. The loss of revenue would be devastating. With no end in sight for this drought, many residents of the region are beginning to fear that they will have to be forced to migrate elsewhere in search of better opportunities. This mass migration would have significant economic consequences for other states in America, as it is estimated that millions of people from the American Southwest could flood into these areas. For example, neighboring states would likely see an influx of new workers and demand for resources such as housing, infrastructure, and healthcare services. There could be many negative effects on these states. For instance, if too many new immigrants are entering these regions, they could struggle to provide adequate housing and employment opportunities for everyone. Additionally, there is a risk that the American Southwest's natural resources could be depleted at an even faster rate if too many people are moving into these areas. Many experts are also concerned about how this crisis might affect American trade with other countries. The American Southwest is responsible for much of the nation's agricultural production, and without water, it would be difficult to keep these farms running. This could lead to shortages in food supplies both at home and abroad, which could potentially cause instability in local markets and around the world. Water conservation efforts. The American Southwest is facing a growing water shortage as rising temperatures and droughts threaten to significantly reduce the region's freshwater supplies. To prepare for this crisis, it is essential that people in the Southwest take steps to conserve water now and in the future. One key step is reducing water usage at home. This can be done by taking shorter showers, fixing leaks, washing dishes and laundry only when necessary, and replacing old, inefficient appliances with newer models that use less water. Additionally, residents can choose native plants and greenery over more thirsty ones like grass when landscaping their yards. Another way to conserve water is to reduce waste and pollution. This can be done by properly disposing of chemicals and hazardous materials, not over-fertilizing lawns and gardens, and avoiding single-use plastics whenever possible. Another important way to mitigate the effects of the water shortage is by supporting local efforts to promote conservation. This could involve participating in community water conservation programs or volunteering with local environmental organizations. Additionally, residents can strengthen their advocacy efforts by contacting their elected officials and urging them to prioritize water conservation initiatives at the state and federal levels. Finally, it is important to support policies and initiatives that promote water conservation. This includes voting for candidates who prioritize water security, backing legislation that protects freshwater resources, and investing in technologies that help reduce water usage. If everyone in the American Southwest takes these simple steps to conserve water now, we can help ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. By acting now, we can make sure that our region is prepared to withstand the effects of climate change and meet the growing water needs. The only solution. Experts predict that if current trends continue, the American Southwest will run out of water within the next few decades. This would have devastating consequences for the region's residents and economy, as well as for ecosystems and wildlife. One potential solution is to implement aggressive conservation efforts, such as encouraging residents to use less water or investing in new technology that can help improve water efficiency. However, these efforts may not be enough to prevent a major crisis in the American Southwest. Ultimately, it will be up to policymakers, businesses, and individuals across the region to work together to find long-term solutions that will ensure a sustainable water supply for generations to come. Until then, we must remain vigilant and do everything we can to protect this precious resource. Without adequate water supplies, communities in the American Southwest will face serious consequences, including reduced agricultural production, declining economic activity, and rising unemployment. Local businesses may struggle to stay afloat or even close entirely if they are unable to find alternative sources of water. In addition, water shortages can lead to social unrest and conflict as people compete for increasingly scarce resources. As the region experiences more droughts and heat waves in the coming years, these conflicts are likely to become more common. If nothing is done to address the water shortage in the American Southwest, it will have far-reaching and devastating consequences for the region and its residents. We must act now to ensure that this vital resource is available for the youth of the future. In addition to economic impacts, life in the American Southwest would be drastically impacted by the lack of water. Homes and schools may have limited access to running water, while farmers may have trouble irrigating their crops. Wildlife habitats could also be affected by severe drought conditions, putting at risk numerous species that rely on these areas for survival. To avoid the worst impacts of the water shortage, it is critical that we take action now to conserve this precious resource. We must all do our part to reduce our water consumption and promote efficient water use practices. Only by working together can we ensure that the American Southwest has enough water for everyone and everything that relies on it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch more of our other videos by subscribing to this channel.